Hey everyone, and welcome to the Draw My Life video. So on October 1st, 1977, I was very punctual at being born. In fact, my parents took so long getting to the hospital that I was almost born in the hospital parking lot. You know, right in that spot where ambulances come rushing in. Yeah, kind of freaked my dad out a little bit, but they made it to the hospital just in time, and boom, I was born. Right off the bat, my best friend was my older sister, April. She was 5 years older than me, and we were playing and having fun even before I could crawl. I think I had the best childhood that any kid could ever have. We grew up on a farm and had lots of chickens and rabbits and ducks and cats and dogs, and it was so much fun. My sister and I loved playing outside. There was a little creek that was near our house. We would go down and play in the creek and make little clay figurines and dishes out of mud, and it was fun. We would select caterpillars and have epic caterpillar races, which really are not as exciting as it sounds. It's kind of boring. We would build amazing forts in the living room out of chairs and blankets, and would spend not just hours in them, but days in them. We would just like move into these little forts that took over tables, and it was very, we had rooms inside of our forts. Our poor cats were our little children. We would dress them up in doll clothes, and much to their dismay, yes, they had to travel along with us in our fort building. My sister and I were both homeschooled, which I really enjoyed. My mom said that I was drawing or coloring back when I was, 2 or 3 years old. I was always getting into things, always causing trouble and mischief, and my mom found that if she just got me a coloring book and crayons, that I would sit for hours coloring for artwork. When I was a little girl, Disney re-released Sleeping Beauty into theaters, and my family took us to see it, and I was just amazed at it. And I don't know how I saw it. It might have been like a special Saturday or Sunday night Wonderful World of Disney, but I saw a making of Sleeping Beauty, and I remember them talking about the people that draw it and create it, and they actually showed some of the animators drawing that. And that was the first time I realized that cartoons don't just appear, that people actually get to draw them, and that's their job. And it was then that I decided that that's what I wanted to do when I grew up. I wanted to draw pictures for a living. That's what I wanted my job to be. But because we lived out in the middle of nowhere, there was really not any place I could go and get any art lessons. There was a really sweet lady that went to my church who was the first artist that kind of gave me some attention and would look at my doodles and drawings and encourage me. And she gave me a couple of art books. My dad's job was a truck driver, and when I was about 8 years old, times got really tight, and he got laid off from his work. And the farm we were living on wasn't ours, we were renting it. And about the same time, we found out that they were going to sell it, so we couldn't live there anymore. Because I was only 8, I really didn't understand what was going on. But one day, my parents told us that we were going to be moving to a big city of Spokane, Washington, where my grandparents lived. I was super excited because the last time we moved, I was a baby, so I didn't remember it. And it was a new adventure for me, so I was really excited, but I didn't realize how much I would miss living on the farm. That really was just an awesome time in my life, and I am truly blessed to be able to say that I had such an amazing childhood. We packed up everything into a big moving van, and off we went to the big city and bought us this bright turquoise green house. It was so bright that when my mom saw it, she just sat down on the street and started crying because the house like glowed. It was such a bright color. And after moving away from this picturesque white farmhouse to the big turquoise house, it was a bit much for my mom. One of the things I did really enjoy about moving to the big city was there was a chance for me to go to art classes. So my mom was excited to sign me up. At first, we went to classes for my age group. Because I drew so much, the teachers really didn't know what to do with me because I was past the point of learning, shapes and drawing, learning to draw a house and, making things in 3D. I'd already picked those up on my own. And so I got really bored really easily with these classes. So my mom then tried to enroll me into more of adult classes. And they didn't know what to do with me because they thought, I was too young to be able to keep up with the adults. And so They kind of would just do the work for me instead of really pushing me to learn how to do things. They would just grab my pencil or my paintbrush and just catch me up with the class. So I was kind of in this awkward place where I couldn't find a good mentor or a tutor. Finally, my mom found an art teacher. One of the most impressive things she had was a ginormous photocopy machine. When I would draw something, she would photocopy it and give me the photocopies. It was like I was having prints of my drawing. And it just encouraged me. It just really was an hour that I would just sit at her kitchen table and I would draw. I was encouraged, and that was like the best thing. When I was 12, Disney released The Little Mermaid, and I could not wait for it to come to theaters. Because we were not a rich family, we wouldn't go to the regular movie theaters. We would wait till it came to the discount theaters, which was only $1. You could go and see any movie you wanted anytime for $1. Only thing was, you had to wait till the movie got there, which was usually a good 3 months after the movie was done in the regular theaters, then it went to the discount theaters. So I had to wait and wait and wait and wait, and it seemed like forever. But my mom said that I could go see it as many times as I wanted to. And believe me, I did. I went and saw the first showing they had and the last showing, and just about every showing in between. I finally counted it up, and I went and saw Little Mermaid 16 times in the theater. I had everything memorized. By the end, I was just studying every single angle that they drew, every line. I would go home and I drew Ariel. Oh my goodness, so much. And I just really began thinking again about wanting to be an animator, and that's when I decided I wanted to work for Disney. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't even know how to even get started. I didn't know like the process. How does someone go to work for Disney? Had not a clue. When Beauty and the Beast came out to theaters, my sister April took me to the actual expensive theaters, and we went and saw it. Now, my sister April wasn't so much an artist, but she's a fantastic writer. And we began to think about ideas about how to get to Disney. She wanted to write for Disney, and I wanted to draw for Disney. So when Aladdin came out, I was 15 years old, and we put our plan into action. And my sister wrote an original story for a feature-length film, and I designed over 40 different characters, and we began storyboarding. Now, let me tell you, we knew nothing about storyboarding. I just knew it was kind of a comic book. We would take full sheets of paper and draw out the scenes in full detail, costume detail, accurate backgrounds, all of this. It was intensive work. Every single day, my sister and I would go into our little makeshift studio that we had in the basement where she would write and I would draw, and we would spend a good 2 to 3 hours every single day for about 2 years. And I can't even begin to tell you how much I learned by doing that storyboard. Well, during this process, I decided that I need someone to be like a mentor, someone who I could have aspirations to be like. I chose an animator that worked at Disney named Eric Goldberg. He was the head animator for the genie in Aladdin. He just seemed always so happy whenever I watched interviews with him in it. He was just always smiling and laughing. Since I was going to be graduating, we decided to celebrate and kind of the thank you gift that we would take our parents on a trip to Disneyland. We decided on a whim that we would write Eric Goldberg a letter. We just wanted to tell him about who we were and what our goals were and about the storyboard and just, see and let him know that we were coming to Disneyland, and just by chance, if he happened to be free, would he mind if we took him out for dinner? Yeah, we had some pretty high hopes there, didn't we? I can remember sitting at home one evening and the phone rang, and my mom and dad answered it and called for my sister, said it was for her. And so she answered the phone, and in a few seconds let out this squeal and shouted, "It's Eric Goldberg! He's calling us on our phone to talk to us." So I ran over to the other phone, picked it up, and it really was Eric Goldberg calling to talk to us. He had gotten our letter, and for whatever reason, it struck a chord with him. And he had shown it to his wife, Susan, and even some of the animators at the studio. And he decided that he wanted to give us a call. So we asked him again if we could take him out for dinner when we were in Disneyland, and he said no. He wanted to take us out to lunch with a couple of other animators and then on a tour of the Disney studios. I know what you guys are thinking. You're making this up. But I'm not. Totally not. Here is a photo of my sister and myself and Eric and Susan Goldberg picking us up at our hotel. Holy cow. What? This is kind of like a person who wants to be a famous singer writing, a famous singer like Taylor Swift or Katy Perry or whoever you listen to, and them saying, yeah, dude, come have backstage passes. And, that doesn't happen very often. We went out to a delicious lunch. I didn't eat anything because I was so nervous. I mean, here I am, a 17-year-old who has been pretty much nowhere and done pretty much nothing in her life, now in the heart of LA, talking to the people that she has studied their work for years and years and years, that they have been these art mentors to her. And now I'm getting to talk to them. After lunch, Eric took us to the Disney studios. At the time, they were working on Pocahontas, and so they asked if we would like to see a sneak peek at some of the scenes. And so we got to see a few different scenes that they were working on. And then after we watched them, the animators gathered around us and asked us questions about what we thought of this, or what did we think of that, or how did that look. I was able to bring a selection of my work and show it to some of the different animators there, and they were so super kind and encouraging and gave some really good suggestions and ideas of what the next step would be. And we got to see so much and talk to so many people, and really, it just kind of all became a blur towards the end of the day. I was so overwhelmed with just the amazement of it all. I'm just going to tell you guys that this is the part of my story that, as I'm telling it to people, they have the hardest time understanding. Because I never actually pursued Disney after that. That even though that was an amazing dream and amazing job, and I have the highest admiration for anyone in the animation field, it's magical. You get to create something that can affect and change people and inspire people for years and years and years, and that is fantastic. But I realized that, as amazing as that was, there was something else out there that I was meant to be doing. And I didn't know what it was yet. It wasn't until several years later that I finally found out what I was called to do, and that was work with children. I got a job working as a ministry assistant for a missions group called Child Evangelism Fellowship, and basically what I got to do was hang out with kids. We got to do clubs for kids, camps for kids, wherever kids needed someone to spend time with, to show them that they cared, that they were important. That's what I got to do. I got to work with kids who had nobody. And so for 15 years, that's what I got to do. And it is by far the best job I have ever done. Even to this day, I have adults come up to me and go, "Miss Valerie, do you remember you were my club teacher? Remember me from camp?" And they're grown up and they have kids of their own, yet they remember me. I loved it. When I was about 25, I began teaching art lessons to children because I just found so many kids didn't have access to an art teacher, and I really remembered how that felt, not having a really good art teacher to encourage you. So I thought, that's something I can do. I can teach kids art too. Well, some things were changing with my work, and I knew that I was going to have to step down to a volunteer position to kind of help out. Because I knew this was going to happen about a year in advance, I just really began to save money as best I could. And when it came time for me to step down, I had enough money to have a summer to focus on making a go at being a professional artist. I needed a plan. Well, I had started up a YouTube channel a few years before this because sometimes my students would miss a class, and so I would just do a quick recording kind of explaining how the class went and give a little example and put it on my YouTube channel for them to see. And so I thought, I'll make some sample art lesson videos and put them on the channel and just see what people think, because I knew several of my art students watched, and I knew that some people who weren't art students had subscribed and were watching. And so I thought, well, let's just give it a try and see what happens, and I kind of see if I could teach through a video. So I began to create a couple different videos. An amazing thing happened is that as I began to post these videos on YouTube, you guys began to watch them. I didn't think I could find a job that I enjoyed as much as working with children. This is probably the best art job for me. It just fits. This is a job career I never even dreamed existed. To be able to create such fun videos and be able to interact with so many people around the world and encourage them the way that others had encouraged me. I've collected a little book just full of just the sweetest comments that you guys have sent me. You guys tell your life stories and your struggles and how art has just helped you through that, and how you've just been encouraged to try drawing. It's just touched my heart. I just love it. I love hearing your guys' stories. And so now this is the job I get to do. Have fun with you guys, make videos. It is such a blessing from God to be able to do this. A lot of times when I tell my story, after I'm done, people will say, but you were so close. It just seems kind of a waste. You don't know what you could have been able to do had you decided to go and work as an animator. And I don't want you guys to think that that was wasted, because in no way, shape, or form was it wasted. I learned lessons with Disney that I couldn't have learned any other way. One thing I learned, if you allow a big goal or a lofty dream to scare you, where you don't try for it, then you'll never know. The storyboard was a huge undertaking. It took so much energy and time and sweat and tears and frustrations, but I learned not to be scared of hard work. Going and meeting the animators at Disney was frightening and exciting all at the same time. You never know what will happen unless you try. And my dream didn't turn out the way that I had thought it would at the beginning. But I'm doing something that I love to do. And I don't think if I hadn't worked so hard to get to Disney that I would have had the strength to be able to work as hard as I do now, doing the things I do now. The second lesson I learned from my adventures with Disney is that no matter who you are or what you do, that you always need to be kind to people. Eric Goldberg didn't have to do what he did for us. I'm sure he gets hundreds, if not thousands, of emails and letters a week from people that admire him. But for whatever reason, Eric Goldberg decided to pour into my life. And for him, it might have just been a day he invested into somebody else to encourage them, to show them that someone out there cared. But to me, it wasn't just a day. It was a day that would change my life forever and be a constant reminder that no matter where I was, that there were always people that I could be kind to. And I don't know what the future holds. If I get to make art videos for the rest of my life, that would be just fine with me. I'm just excited to see what God has in store for me. So thank you again so much for joining me on my adventure, and I'll be back again with another video. So until next time, God bless you guys, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.